Shalom, shalom. First and foremost, all praises, honor, and the glory shall go to Yahweh, Ba'asham, Yahushai, Ba'asham, Makakodash, Brakatham. Double honors shall go to apostles, elders, and bishops. A great millstone will continue to teach and to rule well. Shalom to the Akims, a great millstone and like-minded camps and individuals who continue to teach as one body, who continue to be out on the highways and byways, risking their lives for the greater good. Shalom to the sincere Akwats who are continuously learning in silence as the Holy Scriptures have commanded for you to do so. And also shalom to the true believers and subscribers of this true gospel, for this should be considered a true blessing from the higher power. This is Azariah Gabar, representing the King is Coming channel, back at it with another lesson for edification purposes. All right, so this video, Abaratazah, is going to be a touchy subject. All right? For both you Akims and Akwats. Real talk. But it has to be said. It has to be preached. Okay? Now, you got this phenomenon, let's call it that, amongst you Akims and Akwats as far as converting into Muslim, okay? And that's not who we're supposed to be. Us Jakes, that's not our identity, all right? So the title of this lesson for today is going to be, We Are Not Ishmaelites. Once again, we are not Ishmaelites. So you may ask, who are Ishmaelites? Well, they're the descendants of Ishmael, according to the biblical scriptures, of Abraham and Rebekah, okay? So these are the true Arabs that are primarily in the so-called Middle East, but it's really Asia, because let's be real, the Middle East, that's not original. It's not supported in the biblical scriptures. Asia, that's the Middle East, period. But Esau Edom, of course, you know, his evil ways and evil biddings, he, concocted this Middle East nonsense, all right? So what's going on here, you see in this video, the title is Why No Black Person Should Be Muslim, all right? Because like I just mentioned, this is like a jailhouse thing. Started back from at least Malcolm X, in which his real name was Malcolm Little. Okay? So he is Jake, all right? Malcolm X or Malcolm Little is really Jacob. But again, he took up that ideology while he was locked up in jail. You heard? So I'm going to play this video, Lord willing, in its entirety. But before I do so, fair use of the 1976 Copyright Act. For this video is strictly for education and edification purposes only. I'm not making a dime off this video. All right? So Abaratasa, play this video in its entirety and then pull up some supporting precepts and close it out. Let's go.
Whoever wants to know what the devil looks like, what Satan himself looks like, go look at a black man. That's what the Prophet of Islam says, Muhammad. Ibn Ishaq, page 243. Whoever wants to see Satan, let him look at Nabtal al-Harith. He was a sturdy black man with long flowing hair, inflamed eyes, and dark red cheeks. The devil in Islam is a black man. This is what the Prophet of Islam says. But there's a lot more.
And that's why no black person should be Muslim.
Nope.
The Quran and Islam promote slavery of blacks and disdain for blacks.
That's right.
This is Sahih al-Bukhari 6161. Allah's messenger was on a journey, and he had a black slave called Joshua, and he was driving the camels very fast. That black slave was whipping that chariot like a Cadillac. And he was driving the camels very fast, and there were women riding on those camels. Allah's messenger said, Wahaika, may Allah be merciful to you, O Joshua. Drive slowly. The camels with the glass vessels are on board.
This is Sunan an-Nasai, 4621. And for context, the title of this chapter is Selling Animals for Animals of Different Amounts or Quality, Hand to Hand. So this is just commercial transactions like you would go to Costco or Walmart or whatever local grocery mart or your whatever store it is that you shop
Kroger's.
Kroger's. It's as simple as that type of transaction. It was narrated that Jabir Sayyir, a slave, came and gave his pledge to the messenger of Allah to immigrate. And the prophet did not realize that he was a slave. So Muhammad freed the slave. No, that's not what happened. Muhammad did not free the slave. Contrary to popular belief, Muhammad was not this abolitionist. He was not fighting on the behalf of poor, disenfranchised black people. Let's continue reading. It says, and the prophet did not realize that he was a slave. Then his master came looking for him. The prophet said, sell him to me. Sell me the slave.
This is the most anticipated smart security camera of the year.
Oh,
no
shut the
internet
hell up.
connection needed. No wiring or complicated installation.
So he bought him for 2 black slaves. Then he did not accept until he had asked, is he a slave? So a slave comes up to Muhammad. Muhammad doesn't say, hey guys, slavery's wrong. What are you guys doing? I'm a prophet of God. You must end this at once. Upon realizing that this man is a slave, he offers 2 black slaves in exchange for this 1 non-black slave, which would indicate that according to Muhammad, who was the prophet of Allah, non-black slaves are worth twice as much as black slaves.
And you know what that reminds me of, Brother Hassan? Muhammad came up with the 3/5 of a man law before America.
Right.
Isn't that crazy? The 3/5 of a man law was already in place with Prophet Muhammad and Islam. That our bodies, our persons are not valued as much as other people's.
Yep.
It gets worse. Sahih al-Bukhari 70:39. Concerning the dream of the prophet in Medina, the prophet said, I saw in a dream a black woman with unkept hair, basically nappy hair, just like they call us today.
And then the prophet of Islam gives her shampoo and conditioner and some blue magic. Is that what happens? He gives her a comb. Let's see.
It doesn't say that. What happens is he sees this black woman with unkept hair, nappy hair, going out of Medina and settling at Mahaya. I interpreted, this is what the prophet says, I interpreted that as a symbol of the epidemic of Medina being transferred to Mahaya, namely Al-Jufa. So we have the Prophet Muhammad saying an epidemic is represented by a black woman. This is the disdain that the Prophet, that Islam and the Quran promotes.
Right. So if in 2019 you had a dream about a black woman with unkempt hair, it is possible that Allah, the God of Islam, was revealing to you about the pursuing pandemic, COVID-19, that's what that was about. And it was symbolized in this black woman. So now we see a black woman is symbolized as an epidemic, a virus, a cancer. A black man is symbolized as the devil, Satan. So the black woman equals cancer, virus, epidemic. The black man equals Satan. This is what the God of Islam wants you to believe. This is what Muslims would have you believe. And unfortunately, there's a large demographic of black people in this country that believe that this is the true liberating, religion that black people need to follow.
Yep.
And don't know this.
And they do not know this information.
Nope.
Malcolm X, whom I love.
I just mentioned Malcolm X.
And partially because of Malcolm X, he didn't know this information. Muhammad Ali, one of the greatest boxers of all time, he ironically, in wanting to change his name from a white man, Cassius Clay, a slave master's name, to a more liberating name, changed his name to a pale Arab who owns black people as slaves.
Muhammad's black slaves couldn't even go to heaven. This is Sunin Abi Duad, 2711. He says, we went out along with the apostle of Allah in the year of Khaybar. We did not get gold or silver in the spoil of war, except clothes, equipment, and property. The apostle of Allah sent towards Wadi al-Qura. The apostle of Allah was the apostle of Allah was presented a black slave called Mid'am. And while they were in Wadi al-Qura, and Mid'am was unsaddling a camel belonging to the apostle of Allah, he was struck by a random arrow which unalived him. So his black slave was unalive. The people said, congratulations to him. He will go to paradise.
There was an unarmed black man who was shot unjustly in front of the Prophet of Islam. And did he say we must all protest? How dare this horrible thing take place? Did he start a riot? Did he do anything? Let's see what the Prophet of Islam did. Did he say rest in peace and he paid for his funeral?
Did he pour out a little liquor? No. But the apostle of Allah said, not at all. Hell no, no, this black slave ain't going to heaven. It says, why though? By him in whose hand my soul is the cloak, he took on the day of Khaybar from the spoils, which was not among the shares divided, so he got ablaze with fire upon him.
Well, what's ironic about that is in Sahih al-Bukhari 4350, it says, the Prophet sent Ali to Khalid to bring the kumus of the booty, the spoils. And I hated Ali. And Ali had taken a bath after a sexual act with a slave girl from the kumus. So notice, these are followers of Islam, followers of Muhammad, and they are R-wording slave girls. It says, I said to Khalid, don't you see this? When we reached the Prophet said, you're not allowed to, forcefully lay down with these slave women. That's the R word. No, he didn't say that. Let's see what the Prophet of Islam says. It says, when we reached the Prophet, I mentioned that to him. He said, O Barida, do you hate Ali? I said, yes. He said, do you hate him? For he deserves more than that from the Kamlas. So Ali, one of Muhammad's relatives, he also takes of the spoils early, and he's not reprimanded for this. Instead, the person who's upset that Ali took of the spoils early is reprimanded by Muhammad. They say, man, you're just a hater. What, you mad at Ali because he's getting his motion? You're just a hater. Now, that's very interesting. And there's something that you just said when you read that last verse that I found extremely interesting. This man is unjustly shot. He's shot, well, according to Muhammad, he's not unjustly shot, but an unarmed black man is shot right in front of Muhammad. And if you guys are in the audience watching, you ever heard somebody talk about, oh, so-and-so was such a good person, he's with the Lord now. He's in a better place. And that person's, he wasn't that good of a person. He's probably not in a better place. But out of respect, you just don't say anything. Muhammad went out of his way to make sure everyone...
He's looking up at us right now. I know he's looking up at us. He's not looking down at us. He's looking up at us, watching over us.
Put this under your tongue to rise up whenever you want. Yes, I'm dead serious.
Shut
My
up.
husband is 52 years old.
Imagine that. How much of a bigot, how much of a hater do you have to be when someone is mourning the loss of an unarmed black man, and you go out of your way to say, actually, he's burning in hell. This
Brody on fire.
Yeah, he's on fire is what Muhammad is teaching.
Brody on fire. You remember how we made jokes when we were young? We would call a black man a Boston baked. And in my generation, we would say, get your Boston baked beanhead tail up out of here. Well, before we started that joke and created that, calling other black people Boston baked beanheads and milk dud heads to black people, that was something that the Prophet Muhammad called black people. This is Sahih al-Bukhari 7142. Allah's messenger said, you should listen to and obey your ruler, even if he was an Ethiopian, which was a colloquial term for black people and Negroes in general. Even if he's an Ethiopian slave whose head looks like a raisin? What? So like a milk dud head, Boston baked bean head, These jokes against black people existed with these Arabs. And what's so ironic is, everybody, our black people who are following this false religion, is that this is actually a white man, the Prophet Muhammad. Sahih al-Bukhari 63 says, while we were sitting with the Prophet in the mosque, a man came riding on a camel. He made his camel kneel down in the mosque, tied it to his foreleg, and then said, who amongst you is Muhammad? At the time, the Prophet was sitting amongst us, leaning on his arm. We replied, this white man reclining on his arm. The Sahih is a strong hadith. And I want to just clarify too, we are in no way, shape, form, or fashion are saying that Christianity, that you guys should abandon and ditch Islam for Christianity. That's another false religion. We are Israelites. That's who we are as blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans.
Bingo.
But we have further proof.
Bingo.
He's a white man. Also, we have in Sahih Muslim 6081, Abu Juhayfa reported, I saw Allah's messenger, that he had white complexion and had some white hair. Then we have Sahih Muslim 6071, where it says, did you see Allah's messenger? He said yes. He had a white, handsome face. Your prophet is a white man who had black slaves. Your prophet, the Quran and Islam, child molestation, which is absolutely horrible and terrible. We in the black community suffer from that epidemic at alarming rates, and our young black kids need protection. So because he was the ultimate example, according to Islam, for how to be as a man of God, and a black man joining Islam and being a Muslim will take after his ways, permit the childhood of our young black kids, which is absolutely against God's laws and sexual immorality. So this is Sahih al-Bukhari 5134. It says that the Prophet married her when she was 6 years old. This was Aisha, his wife. Now, she wasn't black, but again, if black men believe that he's the model and the sample, the image that we should emulate and imitate, then they will do the same thing to our black kids. Married her when she was 6 years old, and he consummated his marriage, that means intercourse, when she was 9 years old. Hashem said, I have been informed that Aisha remained with the Prophet for 9 years till his death. And this is what we want to promote? No, we're not doing that. We got to kill it. We got to tear this down.
Now, some might say a lot of things were going on in the 6th and 7th century Arabia. There was a lot of immoral practices, and people did different things at different times, and you're just trying to judge people back then by a 21st century standard. Here's an issue with that. In Surah 33, verse 21, it says, indeed, in the messenger of Allah, that's Muhammad, you have an excellent example for whoever has hope in Allah and the last day and remembers Allah often. Muhammad is an example for all human beings on how they should conduct themselves of followers of Islam, of followers of Allah. And this man was a slave owner. This man was a murderer. This man was a slave master. This man called black people Satan. He symbolized black women as viruses, as cancer, and he was Jeffrey before there was a Jeffrey. And he's saying that this individual is the person that everybody should be like. And this is why we say no black person should be Muslim. But also no brown person should be Muslim, no white person should be Muslim. And if the Martians visit us on Earth, no green person should be Muslim. Because Muhammad is one of the worst prophets and Islam is one of the worst religions in the world.
And with that, it's...
All right, and cut. Y'all heard that? All right. So, the Baldy brother, he said we're Israelites. He mentions, so-called blacks, Latinos, and Native Americans. He was spot on that. All right. And the bottom line is you, Jake, men and women that are still hell-bent on following this ass-backwards, false prophet religion, well, guess what? There's nukes with your names on them as I speak. Y'all heard? the Quran, Allah, Muhammad the Prophet, they're all false idols. And Yahweh said that he's a jealous God. Worship no idols but me. That was the first commandment. All right? So you Jakes, you continue to, be foolish and want to proclaim yourself to be Muslim when these damn Ishmaelites, they hate your guts. As a matter of fact, they're responsible for putting your ancestors onto those slave ships. And I'm going to prove that. So let's get to some precepts. And let's see. Yeah, we're going to go to Genesis 16:10. And it reads, and the angel of the Lord said unto her, and this is Rebekah, at that time, when she was barren and she couldn't bear Abraham's children right away, I will multiply thy seed exceedingly, that it shall not be numbered for a multitude. Verse 11, and the angel of the Lord said unto her, behold, thou art with child, and shalt bear a son, and shalt call his name Ishmael, because the Lord had heard thy affliction. In verse 12, here's the point. And he shall be a wild man. His hand will be against every man, and every man's hands against him. And he shall dwell in the presence of all his brethren. Woo! So isn't that what's going on right now? Isn't that what's going on right now with this Iran situation? That Babylon is about to attack Iran again. Who knows if that's not happening now? All right, Trump's about to attack Iran again. Those small hats are about to attack Iran again. Slakia. All right. And guess what? Iran, they may end up launching nukes. They may finally start launching those nuclear weapons, because believe me, they have those. They got plenty of those nukes in stock. Do not sleep on these Ishmaelites. All right? Because like I just read, he's a wild man. And his hand will be against every man, and every man's hand against him. So you go at him strong, he's going to come back even stronger, because they believe in martyrism. They're not afraid to die for Allah's sake. Allah Akbar. You understand? So we're going to go to the book of Deuteronomy 28:63, and it reads, and it shall come to pass that as the Lord rejoice over you, to do you good, and to multiply you, so the Lord will rejoice over you, to destroy you, and to bring you to naught, and ye shall be plucked from off of the land whither thou goest to possess it. And here's the point, verse 64. And the Lord shall scatter thee among all people, and from one end of the earth even on to the other, and there thou shalt serve other gods. And this is what you Jakes are doing. When you're serving Allah Akbar, you're serving other gods, which neither thou nor thy fathers have known, even wood and stone. These people worship wood and stone. All right? I mean, really, come on. And so, here's the point about Ishmaelites being an enemy to Jakes. We go to the book of Psalms 83:1, and it reads, a song or psalm of Asaph. Keep not thou silence, O Yahweh. Hold not thy peace, and be not still, O Yahweh. Verse 2. For lo, thine enemies make a tumult, and they that hate thee have lifted up the head. Verse 3. They have spoken, or they have taken crafty counsel against thy people, and consulted against thy hidden ones. Who are thy hidden ones? That's us, Jakes. Verse 4. They have said, come and let us cut them off from being a nation, that the name of Israel may be no more in remembrance. And here's a point. Verse 5. For they have consulted together with one consent. They are confederate against thee. All right? Verse 6. Here's a real point. The tabernacles of Edom and the Ishmaelites of Moab and the Hagarenes. Woo! All right? So there you go. These Arabs are our enemies, according to Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushai. But yet, us Jakes are so hell-bent on serving their oppressors. Okay? Now, I want to try to look for something here. Salakia. So I did this AI overview of whether or not Muslims worship wood and stone, like Deuteronomy says. Here's the response. No, Muslims do not worship wood, stone, or any physical objects. Yeah, right. Islamic theology strictly prohibits idolatry, shirk, emphasizing the worship of one, formless God, Allah, alone, while Muslims face and honor the Kaaba in Mecca, a stone structure. So where they come in? On one hand it says, oh no, Muslims do not worship wood and stone, but here it says they do. A stone structure. It is treated as a focal point for prayer and a symbol of unity, not an object of worship itself. Yeah, right. It just contradicted itself. So Muslims do in fact worship wood and stone. That's what you Jakes are doing when you are praying up towards Allah and Muhammad the Prophet. All right? False idols. Period. You heard? So hopefully this is edification that's brought forth. Abaratazah. So with that being said, I'm going to close out this lesson. And as always, all praises, honor, and the glory shall go to Yahweh, Ba'asham, Yahushai, Ba'asham, Rakakudash, Brakatham, Kwam, Yasharallah, Rise Israel. And as always, Abaratazah. On to the next video. Shalom, shalom, shalom.